Welcome to Beans and Breakdowns, a podcast dedicated to bridging the gap between specialty coffee and the heavy music community. On this episode, I'm joined by Gavin Otsuka, founder of Stillproud clothing based in Lahaina, Maui. So grab a fresh cup of coffee and wake the fuck up! What's going on, Caffeinated crew? Today, I'm joined by Gavin, longtime veteran of the South Florida scene, but is a resident of Lahaina and Maui. He runs Stillproud clothing, big part of the hardcore community, and still reps it with his brand. Gavin, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good, man. All things considered, I'm hanging in there. I'm alive and well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just drinking some coffee in the afternoon, super stoked, to be able to talk to you, wish there was better circumstances, but, we'll get into some of that. So, do you have any coffee? I know it's early for you right now.
I do. Of course. Yep.
Nice. What are you drinking?
Sipping. This is a Costa Rican from, my friends down the street at Hawaiian Village Coffee in Kahana. Just like pretty much every business that, is open, they were just donating everything and saw a bag of Costa Rican. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I have no idea how the coffee scene is out in Hawaii in general, but even Maui I know is probably a bit smaller as well. So it's cool that you'll have, people roasting and doing specialty coffee out there as well. I'm sure it's probably a lot more expensive, but
for sure, definitely more expensive.
Yeah. Well, do you have a kind of a go-to cafe that you're a fan of?
I often say I like my coffee like I like my music and my women. A little bold, complex, and dark.
Right, so you're
anything dark.
You like a dark roast?
Yeah, I'm a dark type of guy. I like Italians and Frenches and things along that nature.
Nice. And do you brew at home, or what do you do for your home stuff?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I definitely have a coffee grinder. I like whole beans versus just pre-ground. I like to experience the freshness from a get.
Nice. That's great. Got it in a nice little, is that an Arctic or like a Yeti? I see.
It's a Yeti. Yep. Yeah. A giant Yeti. This is my third one. It's usually about 3/4 full per cup.
Ooh, that's a lot of coffee. Yeah. I've switched to this tiny little, it's called an EcoMate, but they're made in Korea, I guess.
Okay.
But it's cool. It's like it's a reusable plastic mug.
Oh, nice.
Instead of porcelain.
It's all insulated.
Yeah. It's fucking awesome. And it's like the perfect size because I don't drink big cups, but I make like, a carafe and like pour from the carafe. So, my buddy Blair from Dark Arts in London just sent me a care package, and I was very surprised to find this in there. So
yeah, nice. That's awesome.
Shout out to him. I'll tell you what I'm drinking. I'm also drinking some Dark Arts because I have too much coffee at my house now. And, this is a Uganda. It's a natural processed. It's called their moon sugar. But it's not a blend, it's just a roast. And this is notes of dark plum with a silky mouthfeel. That's too much for me. I don't know what that means. And then these notes are also over my head, foam shrimp and rose water. No idea what that is. Yeah. I get the rose water, but the foam shrimp is a bit too much for me. I think that's more on the chef side. I can't grasp.
I don't know. That's pure nerdery right there, like the Psalms with wine and stuff.
You ever had a foam shrimp? I've never had one.
I can't say I have, but who knows? Maybe I have. Maybe it's just code for something else.
Maybe it is code. What are you trying to push us towards? That's my question.
Right? Exactly.
Well, cheers to you.
Cheers
for being on. I know that you're originally from Lahaina, but spent a lot of time in Florida. That's what I've gotten
Correct. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
what our friend in common Dick has told me.
Yes.
But I guess tell me how you entered that hardcore space. I know that you were in a few bands, Hands to the Forsaken, Through the Worst,
Yeah.
just to name a couple of them.
Yeah. So yeah, born and raised in Lahaina, Maui. When I was 8, when my mom and dad got a divorce, I went with mom over to Florida. And that's kind of where, spent most of my adult life over there. Just come back summers, see, dad and family and stuff all throughout Hawaii. But yeah, my love of music started early on. I'm 39, so 90s alt early grunge, and then like alt rock was my shit. And then it kind of progressed from there into metal and new metal. But I had always been searching for music with more substance, as opposed to just self degradation and I hate society, blah blah blah. Always looking for something more. When I was in high school, I had a friend, shouts to Colby, who would always, when I get to school, he'd be like, "Oh man, I just went to this Stick show." He's like, "Yeah, saw a 10-yard fight and blah blah blah," and I'd be like, "Cool, I like new metal." But it didn't really sink in until college. I had a classmate, punk rock Dave, and he was into punk and some hardcore and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, you want to go to the show?" And this is when I was starting to get into metalcore and shit. So my first show was in Naples, Florida. Naples had a pretty decent scene at that time. And it was Until the End, where Fear and Weapons meet, Protagonist, and a couple other Florida bands. But it just blew my mind. Just a sense of community and the aggressive nature of the music. Mm-hmm. And it stood for something, it had conviction. And from then on, I was hooked. And started bands. Probably sang in bands for probably about 8 years, and then also started a booking company with my friend. So we would book tours through South Florida and basically built our scene in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, where there was literally all these disjointed scenes, but we brought it all together and created a scene of our own. And yeah. That's pretty much where I got the hardcore bug from. And, as everybody, it's ruined my life. I've spent my days just looking up constant new bands, and it never ends, but it's fun. And, it's a part of my life. So it's natural.
So I'm sure you get the FOMO when you watch like FYA and what that's become.
Oh my God, dude. So I was in Tampa. The last 5 years of Florida, I lived in Tampa. Prior to me leaving, there was not that fest. So everything cool started to happen in that city in particular after I left. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've my friends' bands play that fest and and whatnot. Yeah, it's hard. And I actually just went back prior to about a month before all this shit show happened. I went back to Florida to move my brother out and was able to catch Florida Rules Fest. That was my first show in like 15 plus years. So I was a kid in a candy shop, just doing the old man mosh thing and, having some fun, seeing all my old friends' bands that we used to play with, Knock 'em Dead, saw a bunch of newer bands, pieced up. And yeah, it was a good time. It was like a family reunion.
I remember playing Florida one time, and it was with I guess it was like an Every Time I Die-esque kind of hardcore band, because that's what was big. I'm from Savannah. Okay. So
yeah. Okay.
So what was big over there was like that Southern influenced kind of metalcore.
Yeah.
Right. And so we played a show with Demolisher, and
okay, that's familiar.
What's the name of it? It was fucking something Springs. It's North Tampa Bay. Tarpon Springs.
Tarpon Springs. Okay.
Yeah, and we played this fucking little tiny bar with like 6 bands. It was a huge show. And then
was it like Sea something lounge?
I feel like it was like a long bar with like the bar was on the right side and there was like a stage in the back.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
like little
Sounds
bar
familiar.
stools kind of on the left side. Anyway, it was just like a long ass venue,
Right.
and there's a parking lot, like a big municipal parking lot across the street.
Mhm.
But basically, yeah, it was like 8 bands, and Demolisher
Okay.
was like the headliner. But of course, you know, a lineup that long, there's like 8 people watching the headliner. But
Right. Of course.
I can remember the moshing at that show being something that I had not seen like in my city. And we mosh hard, but it was less choreographed. So the Tarpon Springs and Tampa Bay mosh, I feel like for a long time has been really, really high up because of the brutality
Yeah.
when you've got bands like Thick
Right.
as Blood, which I feel like
Yep.
Through the Worst is very much on that vein, like the
Uh-huh.
Marauder, but slower kind of idea.
Right. Yeah, for sure. No, yeah. Florida, South Florida has always been an aggressive, testosterone-filled scene, especially in Miami, where Thick as Blood and Knock 'Em Dead and All Hell Breaks Loose, you know, like all these bands come from. It's very street, and ignorant.
Yeah. Like I remember hearing Thick as Blood for the first time. I was like, this is really violent. Like I don't even know what the people look like, but I know that I don't want to meet them because it's scary.
Right. Was this when they had like, I think it was 3 or 4 singers?
No, this was just
or maybe it was okay.
What's his name? The main dude. He was on
Gino.
Yep,
Gino. Yeah, shouts to Gino.
Yeah, but it was like their second full length is where I've like first heard.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
But yeah, Florida always I played more shows in Florida than I ever did like out in Georgia or outside of Georgia because of the scene being so good. Yeah, Jacksonville was like a hotbed as well.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Shout out to Florida hardcore in general. But South Florida hardcore for sure, still holding it down. That band 2 Piece has been getting pretty big too.
2 Piece, yep. Yeah. It's odd that there's 2 members and that's it. it's that heavy and
it's not like they didn't even reach for the name. It's just 2 Piece.
Right. Like, it is what it is.
Well, you know, in the middle of the playing in the bands and being a part of the scene, you start Stillproud while you're still in Florida. So how does that kind of come out of, you know, why a clothing brand from doing hardcore?
Yeah. Okay. So initially, it's singing in bands was what I wanted to do, you know, full time. And then life and responsibilities got in the way. I went to college, you know, other members, you know, were doing their thing and it just didn't work out. So after I graduated college, you know, got a corporate job, sitting in my cubicle one day, just kind of lost. I'm like, fuck, man, like music was my thing. The way that I get out everything inside of me is through that microphone, and that's gone. So how do I channel that into something constructive and, you know, creative? And it doesn't get any more bold than a t-shirt, you know, to express yourself. So that's initially how I got into it. I wasn't like a big streetwear head. I was just a person with something to say.
Right.
And then that's how, that's how the brand started.
So do you do design work, or were you just kind of pulling from people to do the design work, like friends and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, initially to present day, it's pretty much like it's kind of shifted from more so just basic, you know, like text and whatnot. So now it's a lot of like tattoo illustrations. So yeah, I do have a lot of artists that I work with around the world and stuff to come up with those designs. A lot of the simple text type stuff I can figure out, but by and large, mostly outsourced.
Do you fumble? You fumble in Photoshop like I do?
Occasionally, yes, because it's not like if you're not doing it consistently, you forget so much shit, and it's like, fuck, I gotta sit through this tutorial for a couple minutes.
How the fuck do I overlay this texture? I can't remember for the life of me how to create a mask.
Exactly.
I hate that shit.
Yeah. It's a necessary evil.
The site looks great. The stuff is really cool. Unfortunately, there was a shirt that I really wanted, and it's completely sold out. It was first of all, I love the Nazi scum one. That's like a long time design I liked, and I like that it's a Vans shoe instead of a Doc Marten, because I'm not a punk.
No, exactly. Right.
But I still hate Nazis.
Yeah.
But there's some great stuff, and it looks to be like, you're having to do a lot of reprints. So it looks like it's definitely caught like a vein.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's aggressive. I'm naturally a very opinionated person, as you can tell by my clothing. So yeah, I'm not afraid to ruffle feathers and turn some heads, because I think the world kind of needs a little kick in the ass sometimes.
For sure. Like most definitely. Well, tell me what you got going on, this Lahaina Strong project that's launching today, tomorrow, this week.
Yeah, it's going live here in a couple hours. It's 2 designs. One of which, when I had moved back to Hawaii, I put out like a little Hawaii capsule collection. So it's like it's like the traditional Hawaiian flag, not the one that you see on your typical British. It's like the Union Jack and whatnot. It's kind of the flag of the Kanaka Maoli, or the native Hawaiians, and changed up a little fist in the middle and stuff, and then just added Lahaina Strong, because I could have went with Maui Strong, but this is Lahaina's the focus, and by and large, when people come to Maui, they go to Lahaina, so it's out there, and just to get the word out there that Lahaina Strong was the theme between both designs. And then for the second one, this tattoo artist, CJ Loco, reached out to me. Shouts to him. Immediately was like, I want to help. He saw my story that I had posted out there, and like, yeah, shoot, let me send you some drafts. Just keep this design. I want to do this. I want to do something, to help. So that's the second design. So yeah, it's 2 designs so far. Definitely open to get more designs in there if any artists want to reach out to me. But yeah, 2 designs. There's men's and women's tees and tanks, as well as something for the keiki or kids as well. So yeah, just a little release to pay homage to the place that made me, and hopefully do some good. I can only do so much. I can put it out there. I can promote it as best I can, but it's only going to succeed if I have the support of people, making orders, sharing it, because obviously more dollars in goes to more availability to help people in my community.
Right.
And, all profits, I'm not taking anything from this, minus the cost. All profits are just going to be donated, of which we still got to kind of figure out where, we're going to put the funds. But, we do have a GoFundMe right now for our community as well, that we started. So,
right.
Yeah.
And
only time will tell.
In terms of like things happening now, I know that there's been some cleaning up and things happening, but I guess how is day to day working? Is like, you guys have power obviously in water, but what does it look like?
Yeah. So for some perspective of where I'm at in relation to Lahaina. So I'm on the west side of Maui. Think of Maui as so many different little towns. Maybe every 10 minutes you go. So from Lahaina, I'm 7 miles north in Kahana. Okay. Not too far. I was looking that up today. I'm like, damn, only 7 miles. That explains why, like, at our apartment tree line, I could see the big red glow above that from this far, just for some perspective. But life, thankfully, at least, so there's Kanapali, there's Hanakauai, and then there's Kahana, Napili, Kapalua, and then Kahakaloa. Thankfully, we got power. This all happened on Tuesday, the fires. We had power by Friday, which was kind of unexpected. As we call it here, it's like the coconut wireless. It's just people talking, blah, blah, blah. And nobody knew what the fuck was going on, because, we had no power, no Wi-Fi during this whole time. Right. We're just trying to figure shit out. Everybody's like, oh, it's going to take a month. It's going to take weeks, and then boom, it just comes back on. It's like, so that was a relief. There still is definitely parts of the west side without power, but the sense in the community has been just positive, just overwhelmingly positive and constructive. Like, what the local people have done here is absolutely incredible. For that next morning, there was locals setting up drop-off points. There was supply boats coming in, just little skiffs from the neighboring island Molokai, just delivering stuff. Because everybody's family here. You may have family on Molokai and stuff, but at the drop of the hat, man, like the community just acts right away, and that's prior to any government, state, county aid coming in. This was like, I think FEMA and them got here like a week after.
Yeah.
So yeah, to give you some sense, it's been a shit show. But I don't know, man. I think U.S. citizens and definitely Hawaii, we all know the response time of expecting your government to step in and, act right away is probably not going to happen.
Right.
And Maui was a prime example of what every community should do in a time of need. Like I've never seen, on the news when like natural disasters happen elsewhere, I've never seen a community come together like this and without the help of the government. So
right.
It's beautiful. And it was inspiring. Just amidst all the heartbreak and trying to process everything, people just grabbed the bull by the horns and just, went for it. So it's been a little wild, as one can imagine. I've ran into friends, coworkers who, one coworker was like, I'm gonna stick it out. I'm spraying my house, and then he sees his back gate catch on fire, and then he sees his house and like, fuck. So what did people do? What do you do in this case when you got a body of water and a fire that's moving towards the body of water? You fucking jump into the water. So people clearing a seawall. So from the seawall, there's probably maybe about 5 feet at least, of rock. So you got to clear that, and you're wading in 3, 4 foot, 5 foot water with a fire fucking at the edge of the seawall. The stories are insane. Mothers holding their kids, like with their backs to the flames just to save their fucking kids' lives. And you got to also understand the power was out that whole day. So you had kids out of school, schools were closed, and you had parents that were working, maybe on the other side. They could not get home to help their kids. And there's a lot of the death toll. I mean, it's only in the early 100, I think 115, still about 1,000 people missing at least, by and large children. And it's just sad.
Yeah.
Very hard to process.
Yep. I was reading that like I read like the timeline breakdown, but then reading like about, school was out. And so that was kind of happening at the same time. So, doing like adding up missing and
it's I mean, at this point, I would assume they're just gone. I mean, if you even think about like short of what they can find as far as search and rescue, just in the ocean alone, I mean, it's a body of water, man. I've heard there's bodies washing up on Molokai and other islands and whatnot, So it's, this loss is like incalculable. It's, and then not to mention just whatever is on land. I mean, shit, fucking steel was melted, dude. Like my friends in their complex, like a big giant, steel trash can just turned into a puddle of steel, like just like Terminator type shit.
Fuck.
Yeah. It's been wild.
Yeah. It's extremely heartbreaking, like to read and hear about. So, that's kind of why I did want to talk as soon as we could. 'Cause, getting behind projects like Lahaina Strong, and we've got Dick doing his Maui Strong project, where he's donating all of the profits from that coffee he's selling to any kind of relief that I guess he's going through you to find people as well. So yeah, just getting behind these local projects to help bring dollars in support and help as much as we can from outside is really why, I think it's important to put this out as soon as we can.
Yeah, no, I've like the outpouring of support I've received, just, not even short of saying, hey, I'm going to do a benefit t-shirt, like, has been insane. People from Europe, all the way around the world, reaching out to me, just checking in, seeing if I'm fine. People are offering to send stuff, like, well wishes, like it's been crazy. Even though I don't know most of the people, it's just, people come together, and, also in the US, all around the US, people just wanting to send shit. And then I'm like, our post office, like, I think right now at this point was like burnt down. So like, we don't even have a postal carrier, but it wasn't, thankfully. But I mean, mail service, it's been almost 3 weeks now, or maybe 3 weeks. And like, our post office just started delivering stuff last maybe 4 days ago, and they were like a week backed up. So I'm like, yes, it'd be cool to send some shit here, but I have no one to deliver it to me.
It's going to be held up for 2 weeks or delay. So, well, yeah, like I said, I know that you had put your Venmo up as well when you were still getting some of the like the pieces together for the t-shirt project and everything. But I'll drop the links to the Lahaina Strong drop in the description of this episode. I'll also put the Memoirs Coffee, Maui Strong project in the description. And then, like, as much as I can push it on my side, that's definitely going to happen. So, I really hope that it's heartbreaking, and it's very, very, sad and heart-wrenching to see the loss, but also, what we can do as a hardcore community, especially, but, just anybody who's interested can help support any way that they can, then that's what we got to do. So.
Right. I mean, if there was ever a community that would come together, like, shouts to Joe Hardcore of, the This Is Hardcore podcast and fest, he shared my shit. Shouts to Sonny Hate 56, same thing. I talked to a little bit with John Joseph, which is cool and stuff. Like, it's just, I mean, it's an underground culture, and it's, based on just a love and a sense of community. And, it's definitely proven, that community acts, in a time of need, just as any other, if not more.
Right. Yep. We stick up for each other. We look out for each other. That's what it's about. Yeah. Well, Gavin, I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you sharing. I know that, it's extremely personal and extremely close for you, especially, but even for everybody who's been tracking it. It's good to hear that, you're doing well and that there's support and everything coming in. So I really do appreciate you coming on and speaking about it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me and giving me a platform. Again, obviously this is not how I wanted to end up on a, podcast and whatnot, but hey.
I know. I wish I was thinking too, I'm like, the circumstances I really wish could be better, but
I guess with all things life, there's no good or bad time for, for things to happen. It's just on your time. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Let me know your favorite city for beans and breakdowns before we log off.
Favorite city is Lahaina.
That's an easy one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's maybe who I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. We'll be putting this out, as soon as possible, and we'll have those links in the description. So everybody listening, make sure to go check it out, support any way that you can.
Right about a mahalo and a hui ho, or until we meet again, like you said. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beans and Breakdowns. I want to say a huge thanks to Gavin for taking time to come on the podcast. Be sure to support the Lahaina Strong Project through the Stillproud clothing website. He's got a lot of great products, and the profits are going directly to efforts on the ground. Also, you can check out the link to the Maui Strong Coffee that's offered by Memoirs. Rich Stone was on the podcast many weeks ago. Amazing person. So whether you want some coffee or you want to support by buying a t-shirt, do what you can. It will go straight to the hands that need it. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. You can find out more information about the podcast by following us on Instagram at Beans and Breakdowns or on the web at beansandbreakdowns.com. Until next week, be sure to stay caffeinated and wake the fuck up.